Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, is blessed with vast land, mineral and natural resources. Added to that is a viable, strong and large youth and child population, which constitutes about 70% of its entire population. The United Nations defines youth as persons between the ages of 15 and 24. But the Nigerian National Youth Policy, NYP, says youth as a concept varies from culture to culture and from society to society. And in most societies in Nigeria, the progression from childhood to youth involves some systematic rites of passage. For example, male transition to adulthood in terms of achieving economic and social stability that comes with steady employment may extend into the late 20s and mid-30s. So, in line with the conditions and realities on ground, especially historical and contemporary socioeconomic and political conditions, the NYP says youth shall comprise of all males and females aged between 18 to 35 years who are citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. One would think that a large youth population will mean young people will be found thriving as major stakeholders in sectors and industries of the country. But this is not so.
It's important that we know that the nation resides, or the nation will thrive on the strength of the youth. And so it's important that the youth are involved, are empowered to take leadership, are empowered to be involved in every sector. And so it is not just about calling us the future leaders, it's about empowering the next generation to be global leaders and to also be change makers. Because at the end of the day, when you look at the government, when you look at every sector of the nation right now in Nigeria, you will realize that a lot of the people dominating these sectors are older generation. And as such, those people will soon leave, to say. And so if the youth are not empowered to fill in this position, if the youth are not empowered to take power, to take authority in this sector, what happens when they leave? And so it is not just about giving us or equipping the less privileged one to engage in social vices. Empower them to be able to take mantle, to be able to take leadership.
When you go to other civilized countries, you see that the youth are actually having a greater impact in their own economic development. So my own take is that if we want the country to move forward, let's inject fresh eggs, fresh brains, people that are graduates, that have gone to the forwards of a university or higher institution. They know they have the technical know of how to do things. You see a man of 70, 80 years running the affairs of a ministry, where you have graduates about 25, 21 marching around the streets, and we want the country to move forward. No, it cannot move forward. So if the government can entertain youth inclusion in all its arms, I'm telling you, this country will go forward and we will do better.
Each year, 1.8 million youths enter the labor market. Yet, the economy's job creation capacity is on the decline. Nigeria was ranked 161st out of 181 countries on the 2020 Global Youth Development Index, which measures the status of young people around the world. In 2016, Nigeria ranked 141. The National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, in 2016 released a report which revealed damning figures regarding the rate of unemployment in Nigeria. The report indicated that in the first quarter of 2016, those within the working age that are willing, able, and actively looking for work increased to 78.4 million from 76.9 million in quarter 4 of 2015, an increase by 1.99%. In 2020, it is much worse. In its second quarter, unemployment rate is 27.1%, up from the 23.1% recorded in the third quarter of 2018. The unemployment rate among young people alone is 28.2%.
To find a job now is very, very difficult. It's only when you have connection. When you have connection, it's easily to get a job. But whereby you don't have a connection, what can we do? And that's why some boys and girls go into frauds and they go into crime because there is no job for them to do.
There's a lot of youths. You can count how many graduates every year, batch A, batch B, batch C, coming out of, in fact, it's about batch D now, I guess. You understand? Coming out every year, we have over 1 million. So we need more because the government, the country is producing more graduates, but the work, we need more work, please. We need more work.
With the way the government is running things in this country, there's no future for the youths. And this is because the old ones that have been in civil service are not retired. Take, for instance, the number of years has been increased from 60 to 65 years. So if we have graduates coming out of school every now and then, where do you fix them? So obviously the youths are right in what they are saying. They are not finding things easy at all.
The factor is mainly economic growth. If there's economic growth, that leads to more businesses running, businesses being able to do their business and making a profit, and those businesses will grow in leaps and bounds. And as they grow, they will need more personnel, they will need more hands. And that, of course, affects employment. They want to employ more. As they grow, they might want to open new branches across the country, either the state or across the country as well. And they will be able to improve on their employability.
These challenges are driving many youths to depend on themselves and drive their own future, creating opportunities for themselves and others by undertaking different entrepreneurial ventures towards self-reliance.
Youth themselves need to, think beyond just relying on these other people, relying on the government to do this, to do that for them. You have to think of what can you do to contribute to the socio-economic system of your nation. It is two stakeholders, the older people and the younger generation. If the older people are not giving you the mantle, the platform to take power, to take authority, what can you do as a younger person to take authority? It lies in you. It lies with your willingness and, the belief to do something. Nobody prepared me, nobody inspired me to do what I'm doing today. But I am here because I'm a younger person. I felt I need to contribute my quota to the growth of the nation.
The amount of jobs available to the young ones is not like equivalent. So people have to think of problems and solve problems, and in the process, they're able to develop themselves. Although they don't really have like all the knowledge and everything needed, but at least you'll see that there's like a step forward. Many of our youth are creating pitch decks, doing valuation, trying to, gain money, trying to raise funds, seek venture capitalists to be able to develop their businesses. And like in the past few months, you've seen like a huge growth in the amount of funding that Nigerian youth have been able to gain regarding their business.
I'm not banking on the government because I believe that I'm a young man, and then I can do anything doable as long as I'm not cheating anybody. So looking for a job, I'm not looking for any job because I have something doing as a handwork.
Actually, I was working with my certificate before. I work with some companies, some private organizations, and at the end of the day, I find out that it's difficult for me to live, to sustain because of what they are paying me. And I need a better life for myself. So I go into construction and I specialize in concrete stamp floor.
This group of people need capacity building, financial support, and favorable policies from development stakeholders.
The way Nigerian government can actually do it is either through like tax deductions, the regulations from the government. I understand that like the Nigerian government is at the moment working on a startup bill, and that will actually help startups, to gain tax discounts and among other things. But I don't believe that like it's like the total ban of like you cannot be sure of like what the regulation will be tomorrow. You can remember this Okada issues, like the Okada ban recently that happened in Lagos State. We have an idea. We started something of all of it probably on, and then there's a regulation banning what you're trying to do, and then most youths have to go back to square one and have to start over again. I feel like at this juncture, like there should be a balance, there should be an understanding, like before like a regulation is being issued, like stakeholders should be invited to status matter. Like youths are actually involved. And when I say youth, I mean youth, young people that actually, participating actively in this sector and trying to develop employment opportunities for other people that are trying to, build one or two things for themselves.
Maybe that's in years gone by. There has been good policies for the youth. I think what is important is continuity of those policies and then listening to the youths themselves, engaging them and listening to them. Because one thing is to just come up with policies and programs. What if those people were targeting those programs and projects are not going to benefit from it as much, or that is not even what they want? In Lagos State, what we have done is to listen to them. We continue to engage the youth and look at what is required, what they want, and what they need. And that is what we have been doing in Lagos and coming up with programs that we know will benefit the youth.
While some innovate and look for legal ways to earn a living, others give in to crime, taking up arms against the state. And a large number of young persons are finding solace in internet fraud, otherwise called Yahoo Yahoo or Yahoo Plus, for those who have added rituals to the, in quote, business, end quote. Some have simply embraced quick rich gambits, such as sports betting, extremely risky investments like the novel cryptocurrency and Ponzi schemes. The high number of out-of-school children in Nigeria further worsens this, as the Ministry of Education has projected that the number of out-of-school children stood at 10.1 million as at March 2021. When people are educated, it is a plus to the economy, more value added to the people, and improvement in their livelihood and the environment they live in. These people will contribute positively to the economy, thereby stimulating employment. Without a doubt, education is the most potent instrument for elevating and eventually abolishing poverty, as well as creating employment.
We really understand that the situation of employment of the youth in the country is really a very difficult one. And that is the fact that if you look at the statistics, all the data out there, paint a very grim picture of the situation of our youth. Obviously, 60% of the Nigerian population is a very youthful population, and out of this, about 70%, of youths are unemployed. You can imagine how incredibly dangerous that kind of situation can be for the country. And it is said that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. And obviously the insecurity that we see, the instability that threatens our national cohesion as a country are all indicative of the fact that the youths are using their energy and their imagination in other ways that are quite dangerous to the smooth running of the Nigerian state.
It's a tech world now. The young ones are into technology, and that is the in thing. That is what will move us forward in years to come. And we should encourage them to continue to access those various technology platforms for positive means and for the growth of the country.
Skill acquisition is another method some see as a solution to unemployment in the country.
I think they should create more jobs, and then they should also look forward to building the youth in the area of skill acquisition and not just focus on the area of the education, because there are a lot of people who are not schooled even that can do one or two things. I think the government should go far away from just looking at the educational sector, though they are not even trying in that area, but they should also go as far as building, creating opportunities for people who have skills, and then developing that area as well so that people can do something.
But I believe we can, with skills, we shouldn't wait for connection or white collar job. With skills, you can do a lot of things. Let's young one go into skills acquisition. If there is no connection for them, they shouldn't wait for government to provide job for them. They should go into skills acquisition.
In advanced and developing countries, the youth play a big role in decision making. But in Nigeria and many African countries, the youth are excluded and left to operate at a peripheral level. They get paid irregularly and exist usually below the poverty line. In Nigeria and many African countries, the youth were the champions of the independence struggle. For instance, Aminu Kano and Nnamdi Azikiwe in Nigeria, or even Nelson Mandela in South Africa, were youths when they began the struggle for independence in their countries. 60 years after Nigeria's independence, the youth face problems of poverty, low standard of education, insecurity, nepotism, gerontocratic leadership system, lack of opportunities, exclusion from decision making, and lack of support for youth initiatives for self-actualization.
Young people in Nigeria actually rejoiced when the Not Too Young to Run was the age reduction for people for running for political offices and all. And I, as a young person in Nigeria, was among those, in the number of those that were actually very happy to see that such things are happening. But then, in terms of the cost of running elections, the cost of campaigning, a lot of young people have the skills, but then who is able to afford the tickets for political parties? You could see a party charging more than 5 million, for instance, for a ticket. Of course, it's not every young person that has the necessary skills, even the education, that wants to go into politics will be able to afford that. So aside the reduction in the age, a lot more needs to be done.
It's a fact. In fact, it's even a verifiable fact that young people are not part of decision makers and people who make policies and decisions that affect them. Imagine, let's take for instance, you are in a political party and you see somebody of 50 years old saying he's a youth leader. The question you ask yourself is, of what age range is the youth in Nigeria? How can somebody of 50 years old be able to relate to the present predicament of the young people of this generation? How can they be able to understand that there are dispensations, there are time and there are season, and things are changing? How can they even move to the dynamics of time? How can they understand what the young people face presently? And so that's where the disconnect is. When you have people who do not feel the pain of the young people become policy holders or become policy makers, or they become representatives of the young people, you see that there's a disconnect somewhere. Is that they just bring up policies as to how they feel, but not as to how the young people feel. So there's a disconnect somehow, and there's no proper representation until we get to a stage where somebody who becomes a councillor is somebody in his early 20s and mid-20s to early 30s. Until we get to that stage where we have a youth leader in a party who is between his 25 and 32 years old. Until we get to that stage, we will not have people who actually, don't tell me that you are youth at heart. It doesn't like youth at heart. It's either you are a youth or you're an old man. So if you are above the age of 45, you're no longer a youth. Don't tell me that because you can jog, you can run, and then tell me you're not a young person. It means that you cannot feel the pain.
The only way that they will say they want to involve youth is when they want to do political something. They want to vote for a particular person. Then they will now bring up a strategy to make sure that the youth are involved in the voting and all those stuff. So they will bring up a strategy by maybe sharing something, some small thing that they used to share for them before. But I don't think that is the way. There ought to be another way of doing things. By involving the youth fully on the political aspect and work aspect, there has to be a way of how to strategize and make sure that the youth are involved in all these things.
The political system, they are kind of, how do I put it now? They are reusing, old men, into the system. But when you have new brains, new people, I'm telling you, we are going to do well in the country.
Some say young people should not depend on opportunities created for them, but instead make room for themselves.
For a younger person, the first thing you need to do is create the opportunity. We have technocrats, we have people who are not just politicians, they are also businessmen. And those people are doing well. That's the difference. So if people who go into politics are going into politics because they want to make politics as business, then we'll be having a problem we're having in Nigeria right now. So for a younger person, create that business for yourself. When you create that business, in fact, political parties will come calling you. We've seen cases, I don't want to mention them, we've seen cases of those who are, who are given title, who are called commissioner, who are called ministers, not because they belong to any political party, but because somewhere their businesses influence those in power. So build a brand that can influence those in power, and in turn, they will call you into power.
We are young persons. We just can't rely on the government alone. We have to know what we are doing, speak with the right people at the right time, and then know that you've also put your best into it. That way you'll be confident of what you've done without fear of regulation. Yes, there's always a way to move from one to another, and protect your ideas, trademark them, like make sure that you are adequately protected.
There is now a call for social actions, initiatives, and programs in realizing justice, equity, and progress for the youth.
So what we're doing in essence is to come up with programs that we can use to assist the youth. A lot of them, of course, a lot of our young ones now, they're very entrepreneurial in their ability. They, apart from being unemployed, well, we are trying to redirect them to very other areas where they can engage themselves, that they can benefit themselves. In terms of agriculture, we have the Lagos Agripreneurship Program. This is one that trains the youth on various aspects of agric. It is not only farming, because when people just hear agriculture, they think it's only farming. There's so many aspects to agriculture that we're trying to now train them. We've trained about over 2,000 of these youths through the Ministry of Agriculture to know more about agriculture and other aspects of it, from the cultivation to the marketing to all sorts of things, so that they too can have, they can engage in it, in the business of agriculture. Through the Lagos State Employment Trust Fund as well, we've been assisting the young ones to access soft loans to start businesses that they want to do. Also in the area of ICT, if you recall, in the past few months, Mr. Governor has been encouraging ICT hubs in the state, and has gone round to visit all these ICT hubs, especially the ones on the island, the Victoria Island, on the mainland as well. Is to encourage the young ones to use those platforms, to learn more about it, and to come out and set up on their own. And setting up on their own, they will be able to employ one or two other people. Various youth centers which we're innovating at the moment, we're putting various ICT centers there for our young youth to come and train free of charge in ICT. Then through the Ministry of Wealth Creation, we came up with the Graduate Internship Placement Program. This is an area where we assist graduates who are looking for employment. We connect them with prospective employers. What we did in that is to work with them and the private sector, place them, train them, place them in various areas where they're needed, and they will be there on internship for about 6 months. We will pay them. The employers will not pay them. We will pay them monthly allowance so that they can learn on the job. And so you see, when a graduate comes out, most of the employers require experience. And how do they get the experience if they've not had anywhere to go? So this gives them an opportunity to learn on the job, and if they're good, they will be retained. And what we're looking at is for a vast number, a large majority of them to be retained in those places where we place them.
Youth are one of the greatest assets any nation can have. Not only are they regarded as the future leaders, they are potentially and actually the greatest investment for a country's development. Young women and men are in particular recognized as a vital resource where future prospects are inextricably tied to that of their country. They are the valued possession of any nation or region, as they serve as a good measure of the extent to which a country can reproduce and sustain itself. It is therefore pertinent that their well-being be prioritized in the overall interest of their nation.